My friends, relationships are a divine gift, a sacred connection between two souls, meant to reflect the power of unity, trust, and love. But there are moments when the person you cherish, the one who once embraced you with warmth, suddenly feels distant. And in those moments, doubt begins to whisper, fear begins to rise, and confusion clouds the heart. But I want to tell you today, distance is not always a sign of rejection. It is not always a signal of the end. Sometimes distance is a silent cry for understanding, a call for patience, and an opportunity for growth. You see, love is not just about what is seen on the surface. It is not just about the laughter, the embrace, the beautiful moments. Love is also about endurance. It is about seeing beyond the moment and recognizing that people fight battles they do not always speak of. A loving partner may seem distant, not because they have stopped caring, but because they are carrying something heavy on the inside. They may be dealing with personal struggles, fears, or wounds from the past that they don't yet know how to share. They may be searching for answers within themselves before they can bring those answers to you. And sometimes distance is a test, not of their love, but of yours. It is easy to love when everything is perfect, when the sun is shining and when affection flows without resistance. But real love, strong love, the kind that builds a future, is proven in moments of uncertainty. Can you love when you don't understand? Can you be patient when their heart is silent? Can you stand firm when the road is unclear? When someone we love begins to feel distant, our natural instinct is to assume the worst. The mind races with questions, doubts creep in, and before we even have a conversation, we have already decided that distance must mean rejection. But what if that is not the case? What if distance is not a sign of love fading, but a silent cry for understanding? Too often we allow fear to dictate our interpretation of a situation, rather than stepping back and recognizing that love is more than just what we see on the surface. Love is not measured only in words or actions. It is also reflected in patience, in the ability to trust beyond what we feel in the moment. A loving partner who seems distant may not be withdrawing from love, but from something deeper within themselves. They may be wrestling with emotions they don't fully understand, navigating personal challenges they don't know how to express, or simply needing space to process thoughts that have nothing to do with their love for you. And when this happens, the greatest mistake we can make is to assume that their silence is proof that they no longer care. In relationships, people experience seasons. There are seasons of passion and closeness, where everything feels effortless and love flows without barriers. But there are also seasons of reflection, where one or both partners need to step back, not to disconnect, but to regain clarity. These moments are not necessarily about you. They may be about an internal battle, a moment of growth, or even the weight of life's pressures. And in these moments, distance does not mean rejection. It may simply mean they are gathering strength. The foundation of a strong relationship is built on the ability to give space without fear. When love is secure, it does not demand constant validation. It does not panic when things feel different for a short time. It does not react out of insecurity. Instead, it stands firm, allowing room for each partner to breathe, to process, and to grow without the constant pressure of proving their feelings. One of the biggest challenges in relationships is learning to differentiate between personal insecurity and genuine concern. When a partner becomes distant, it is easy to assume it is about something we did or didn't do. Our insecurities rise to the surface, and instead of approaching the situation with understanding, we approach it with fear. We begin to question everything, and in doing so, we place an unnecessary burden on the relationship. But what if, instead of assuming rejection, we chose to trust? What if, instead of reacting with doubt, we responded with patience? Love is not just about the good moments. It is about the moments that require faith. It is about seeing beyond the immediate emotions and choosing to believe that distance does not always mean something is wrong. Sometimes it is just a necessary part of the journey, a moment where one person needs to gather themselves and the other needs to hold on without forcing answers before they are ready to be given. Relationships thrive when we learn to embrace both closeness and distance with the same level of confidence. Closeness is easy. It is where comfort lives. But distance requires trust, and trust is what strengthens the foundation of love. It is what allows two people to navigate difficult moments without fear of losing one another. It is what separates relationships that last from those that crumble under pressure. So often, relationships break not because love wasn't present, but because fear was given more power than love itself. The fear of losing someone can create unnecessary tension, leading to actions that push a person further away rather than drawing them closer. The ability to give a partner the space they need without assuming rejection is one of the greatest signs of emotional maturity. It is a reflection of love that is not needy but secure. Love that does not demand constant reassurance, but instead offers the reassurance that it will remain strong through every season. When a loving partner seems distant, it is easy to take it personally, to assume that something is wrong within the relationship or that their feelings have changed. But what many fail to realize is that distance is often not about the relationship itself. It is about an internal battle that the person is facing alone. People carry burdens they do not always speak of, and sometimes the weight of those struggles causes them to withdraw. Not because they want to push love away, but because they are trying to make sense of something within themselves. Life is filled with challenges, and each person navigates them differently. Some face their struggles openly, expressing their thoughts and emotions as they process them, while others retreat inward, preferring to battle their storms in silence. A partner may be struggling with stress, anxiety, personal disappointments, or past wounds that they have yet to fully heal from. And in those moments, their withdrawal is not an indication that they no longer care. It is often an attempt to protect the relationship from the weight of their own internal chaos. Many people are conditioned to believe that love means always being available, always expressing emotions, and always being present. But the truth is, love does not eliminate personal struggles. It does not prevent a person from experiencing moments of doubt, insecurity, or emotional exhaustion. Even in the strongest relationships, individuals still have their own personal journeys, and sometimes that journey requires space to reflect, to heal, and to regain emotional strength. A person may be battling fears they do not yet have words for. They may be carrying childhood wounds, past betrayals, or feelings of unworthiness that have resurfaced unexpectedly. They may be questioning their own direction in life, feeling overwhelmed by expectations, or struggling with a sense of failure that has nothing to do with their relationship. And when this happens, their instinct may not be to talk about it right away, but to step back and process it internally. One of the greatest mistakes a person can make in a relationship is assuming that they should always have access to every thought and emotion their partner experiences. While relationships thrive on communication, they also require respect for individual processing. Sometimes, love means allowing a person the time and space to sort through their own thoughts before they are ready to share them. It means understanding that silence is not always avoidance, but sometimes a necessary part of personal growth. For someone who is naturally expressive, a partner's emotional distance may feel unsettling. It may create feelings of rejection or insecurity. But this is where trust is tested. Trust not just in the partner's love, but in their need for personal space without fear of losing the relationship. Instead of demanding immediate explanations, real love offers patience. Instead of assuming the worst, real love believes in the best. A loving partner who seems distant is often protecting the relationship more than they are withdrawing from it. They may not want to bring their burdens into the relationship until they have processed them enough to express them clearly. They may fear being misunderstood or judged for emotions they do not yet fully understand themselves. They may not even recognize why they feel the way they do, only that they need a moment to work through it. And in these moments, the role of love is not to panic, not to pressure, but to stand firm, to be a safe place without demands, and to trust that distance does not mean disconnection. People heal and process at different speeds, and a relationship that allows for that growth without fear will always be stronger. Love does not require a constant state of emotional availability. It requires an understanding that each person is still an individual with their own struggles, their own fears, and their own ways of dealing with life's challenges. Love is often seen as something that flourishes in moments of joy, connection, and closeness. But the true strength of love is not measured when everything is easy. It is measured when things become uncertain, when emotions shift, and when distance enters the picture. It is in these moments that love is tested, revealing whether it is built on fleeting emotions or on a foundation strong enough to withstand the trials that every relationship inevitably faces. Uncertainty in a relationship can feel unsettling, especially when a loving partner begins to seem distant. The natural reaction is to seek reassurance, to ask questions, to demand explanations, and to fix what seems to be broken. But real love does not panic in the face of uncertainty. It does not crumble when the warmth momentarily fades. It does not lose its foundation simply because the external expressions of affection are not as consistent as they once were. Distance in a relationship does not always mean something is wrong. Sometimes it is a season of growth, a moment where one or both partners are evolving internally in ways that cannot yet be put into words. Life brings challenges that affect each person differently, and in those moments, love is not about demanding constant attention. It is about trusting the process. It is about knowing that even in silence, the bond remains. Many relationships struggle because one or both partners equate distance with rejection. They assume that if their partner is not expressing love in the same way as before, it must mean their feelings have changed. But emotions are not static. They fluctuate, influenced by stress, personal struggles, and the simple realities of life. And if love is only strong when everything feels good, then it is not real love. It is conditional attachment. The test of love is not in the moments of passion, but in the moments of uncertainty. Can you remain steady when things feel unclear? Can you trust when there is no immediate reassurance? Can you give space without fear of losing what you have built? Love that is built on deep trust does not react impulsively to emotional shifts. It does not assume the worst. Instead, it remains patient, understanding that true connection is not about constant closeness, but about enduring faith in one another. In every relationship, there will be times when one partner is emotionally present while the other is processing something privately. This does not mean the relationship is failing. It does not mean love has disappeared. It simply means that one person is going through something internally, and the other has the opportunity to stand firm, to be a source of quiet strength rather than adding pressure. When a loving partner becomes distant, the immediate temptation is to seek control, to demand explanations, to push for answers, to fix the situation right away. But not everything is meant to be solved in an instant. Some things require time. Some struggles are deeply personal and need to be processed without external pressure. And the strongest relationships are those that recognize this and allow for that space without fear. Love is tested not when things are perfect, but when things are uncertain. It is in these moments that you must decide whether your love is based on emotions or on commitment, whether it is built on temporary reassurance or on a foundation strong enough to endure seasons of change. The ability to love someone even when you do not fully understand what they are going through is a sign of maturity. The ability to remain steady when things feel uncertain is what separates relationships that last from those that fall apart at the first sign of difficulty. Many people walk away from love not because it was weak, but because they could not handle the uncertainty that comes with human emotions. But relationships that thrive are those where both partners understand that distance is not always a threat. It is sometimes a necessary pause, a moment of personal reflection that, when handled with patience and trust, can lead to an even deeper connection. Distance in a relationship can feel like an invisible wall, a sudden shift that leaves one partner questioning everything. It is easy to assume that when a person pulls away, they are deliberately choosing disconnection. But what if distance is not about pushing love away, but rather a silent request for grace? What if in those moments of withdrawal, your partner is not rejecting you, but hoping for your understanding without having to ask for it? Every person has battles they fight internally, burdens they carry that are not always spoken aloud. Some wounds run deep, shaped by past experiences, unspoken fears, or overwhelming emotions they do not yet know how to express. When a loving partner becomes distant, it is often not a sign that they no longer care. It is a sign that something within them needs space to be processed. And in those moments, what they need most is not interrogation, not pressure, but grace. Grace is the ability to give love even when it is not being immediately reciprocated in the way you are used to. It is the choice to trust rather than assume the worst. It is the strength to allow someone to navigate their personal struggles without demanding that they explain everything before they are ready. Many times, a distant partner is not asking for space because they want to leave the relationship. They are asking for space because they are trying to hold on without bringing unnecessary conflict or confusion into the connection. One of the greatest mistakes people make in relationships is taking everything personally. They see their partner's distance as an attack, a sign of failure, or a warning that love is fading. But not every emotional shift is about the relationship itself. Sometimes life presents challenges that require internal reflection. Sometimes a person needs time to sort through their own emotions, to battle their own insecurities, or to find clarity in a situation that has nothing to do with their partner. And when this happens, the response of the other partner can either create tension or provide healing. A person who is struggling internally often does not have the capacity to reassure someone else while trying to process their own thoughts. They may not have the words to explain why they feel distant. And if they are met with pressure or accusations, it only adds to the emotional weight they are carrying. But when they are met with grace, with patience, with understanding, with the quiet assurance that love remains steady even in the midst of uncertainty, it creates an environment where they can find their way back without fear. Love is not about constant closeness. It is about trust, even in moments of emotional space. The relationships that survive difficulties are the ones where both partners understand that love is not proven only in affectionate moments, but also in the ability to give room for individual growth. The ability to love without suffocating, to trust without demanding, to stand firm even when emotions fluctuate. This is what makes a relationship strong. A distant partner is not always looking for solutions. They are not always seeking to be fixed. Sometimes they are simply hoping to be given the freedom to process their emotions without the fear of being misunderstood. They want to know that their love is not conditional upon their ability to be emotionally available every second of the day. They want to feel safe enough to be human, to have moments of withdrawal without being questioned, and to return without fear of being resented. When distance arises, the response should not be panic. It should not be assumption or accusation. It should be grace. It should be the quiet confidence that love does not need to be forced, that connection is not lost simply because there is a temporary shift in expression. It should be the kind of patience that allows love to breathe, to move naturally and to prove itself, not just in moments of passion, but in moments where endurance and understanding are needed the most. Assumptions have the power to destroy even the strongest relationships. When a loving partner becomes distant, the mind immediately starts searching for reasons, often settling on the worst possible explanations. Without realizing it, one small doubt turns into a storm of negative thoughts, and before long, assumptions begin to shape reality. But what if patience could restore what assumptions are trying to break? What if instead of reacting to fear, one chose to respond with trust? The human mind is conditioned to seek answers, to fill in the gaps when something feels uncertain. When a partner withdraws emotionally, it is easy to assume they are losing interest, that something is wrong, or that they are considering walking away. But not every shift in behavior is a sign of trouble. People experience seasons of emotional highs and lows, moments of deep thought, and times when they simply need space to process life's challenges. Not every silence is rejection, and not every moment of distance is an indication of fading love. The danger of assumption is that it leads to unnecessary conflict. When one person begins to believe a false narrative about their partner's distance, their behavior changes. Instead of approaching the situation with understanding, they approach it with frustration, with insecurity, or with accusations. They begin to look for evidence to support their fears, misinterpreting actions and words, creating tension where none was meant to exist. What could have been a temporary season of emotional withdrawal now turns into an actual problem. Not because the love was fading, but because assumption turned it into something it was never meant to be. Patience is the antidote to assumption. It allows space for clarity rather than rushing to conclusions. Instead of reacting impulsively, patience invites understanding. It recognizes that not every question needs an immediate answer, and not every moment of distance requires intervention. It trusts that love, when built on a strong foundation, does not disappear overnight. It gives room for the other person to process their emotions without the pressure of constant explanation. Many relationships fail not because of real problems, but because of imagined ones. A person who assumes the worst will begin to act as if the worst is already happening, pushing their partner away instead of drawing them closer. They create an atmosphere of doubt, constantly seeking reassurance, which can make even the most loving partner feel suffocated. But when patience replaces assumption, a different outcome unfolds. Instead of reacting out of fear, one responds with quiet confidence, allowing love the space to move naturally. A distant partner may not always know how to explain what they are feeling. They may not even be aware of the emotional shift themselves. Sometimes they are simply in a place where they need to step back, not to disconnect, but to regain balance. And if they are met with patience rather than pressure, they will feel safe enough to return when they are ready. Trust is built in moments of uncertainty. It is easy to trust when everything is going well, when affection is abundant, and when there are no doubts. But the real test of love is found in the moments where things are unclear. Can you trust without constant reassurance? Can you wait without jumping to conclusions? Can you give your partner the grace to navigate their emotions without fear of losing you in the process? Every relationship will face moments of uncertainty, moments where one partner seems distant or emotionally unavailable. The response to those moments determines the strength of the connection. Assumptions will create division, but patience will provide the space for love to find its way back. Those who master patience in their relationships will see that what seems like distance is often just a temporary pause, not an ending. The strongest love is the love that refuses to be shaken by moments of uncertainty, the love that chooses to trust, to wait, and to believe in the connection, even when emotions shift. In every relationship, there will be moments when emotions fluctuate, when one partner seems distant, and when the connection feels different from what it once was. It is in these moments that love is truly tested, not in the days of passion and excitement, but in the seasons where understanding and emotional strength are required. The greatest mistake many make is believing that love should always feel the same, that it should always be overflowing with warmth and constant connection. But real love, lasting love, understands that emotions change, yet commitment remains. A distant partner is not always a sign of fading love. Sometimes it is simply the reflection of an internal struggle, a shift in their own emotions that they may not fully understand themselves. Many people do not even recognize when they are withdrawing. They may be overwhelmed, stressed, or processing deep thoughts that have nothing to do with the relationship. Yet instead of being given space to navigate these emotions, they are often met with resistance, questions, accusations, and pressure to explain something they have not yet figured out themselves. When love is mature, it does not panic in the face of emotional shifts. It does not demand immediate answers. It does not crumble just because things feel different for a while. Instead, it stands firm, allowing each person to have moments of introspection without the fear of being misunderstood. The strongest relationships are not those that never experience distance, but those that learn how to navigate it with patience and wisdom. One of the greatest challenges in relationships is learning how to support a partner without overwhelming them. When someone seems emotionally distant, the immediate reaction is often to try to fix the situation. Many believe that if they ask enough questions, offer enough reassurance, or push hard enough, they will bring their partner back to emotional closeness. But sometimes the greatest act of love is simply allowing the other person the freedom to process their emotions without interference. Space is not a threat to love. It is not an enemy of intimacy. When given with the right intention, it allows two people to grow individually without fear of losing the connection they share. Many relationships suffer not because love is absent, but because there is an expectation that both partners should always be emotionally available at all times. But even the most loving individuals need moments of solitude, moments where they can reflect, gather their thoughts, and return to the relationship with renewed clarity. Trust is the foundation that allows love to endure these moments. It is easy to trust when everything feels good, when words of affirmation are spoken daily, and when physical affection is consistent. But trust is truly measured in the moments where those things are not as present, in the times when love is no longer about what is constantly being said, but about what is deeply known. It is the ability to believe in the connection even when words are few, to stand firm even when emotions fluctuate, and to give space without fear of abandonment. Many relationships break under the weight of insecurity rather than the actual absence of love. The fear of losing someone creates unnecessary tension, causing one partner to chase after reassurance while the other retreats further. This cycle continues until both individuals feel exhausted, misunderstood, and disconnected. But when love is built on security, when both partners understand that temporary distance does not equal rejection, the relationship is allowed to breathe. It is given the room to stretch, to grow, and to deepen in ways that constant closeness could never provide. A distant partner is not always looking for explanations, nor are they always aware of how their actions are being perceived. What they need most is not pressure, but presence. The quiet assurance that they are not alone, even in their moments of withdrawal. The ability to love without condition, to trust without fear, and to remain steady in the face of emotional shift is what separates relationships that flourish from those that fade. Love is not about demanding constant closeness. It is about creating a bond strong enough to withstand the moments of distance. Knowing that true connection is never lost, it only deepens when handled with patience, wisdom, and unwavering trust. Love is not defined by constant closeness, but by the ability to endure the ebb and flow of emotions with trust, patience, and understanding. A distant partner is not always a departing one. Sometimes they are simply navigating an internal battle they have yet to express. Real love does not demand immediate answers or react in fear. It stands firm, offering grace instead of pressure, patience instead of assumption, and security instead of doubt. The strongest relationships are not those without moments of distance, but those that know how to handle them without breaking. True connection is never lost in silence. It is strengthened by the quiet assurance that love remains, even in the spaces in between.